Hey, what's going on YouTube? Hyperdark19 here, bringing you the first in what I hope will be another long-running segment called Duel News, if you'll look at the top. In these videos, I'm going to report on a newsworthy event, or what I think is a newsworthy event in the world of duel monsters and card games, and just bring it to you for, I guess, review, seeing as I am a journalism major. But anyway, the topic for this first video is the impending release in about a week from now of Structure Deck 20 Lost Sanctuary. Now, I personally am really excited for this because it looks like an awesome deck. It's got a lot of really cool reprints, some good fairy monsters that most players have been denied access to for a long time, as well as a few brand new cards that really do what I think needs to be done to take the fairy deck to the next level and make it actually a competitive force to be reckoned with. So anyway, this video anyway is pretty much going to be just like product review kind of thing before it is released, but just here's the heads up on this deck. Once again, it's called Structure Deck 20 Lost Sanctuary, and it's based on fairy type monsters, light fairy type monsters, especially a series called the Agents, which were released back in the Ancient Sanctuary set and never really saw any real play or had any real popularity outside of a few maybe fun decks. But yeah, it focuses on them heavily. And while I don't think all of them are playable, I think there's a few that definitely deserve to be looked at, especially the new ones. So, all right. Personally, about structure decks in general, just a note before I go off on this deck. I think structure decks in the past few years have been getting a lot better in terms of like it's worth the money to buy them. Because the first one I thought in that series was the Machine of Mayhem structure deck. I really loved that one because it gave us the Machine of Monsters. The Machine of Monsters were really awesome. The rare cards were awesome. I mean, Fortress and Gear Frame, you can't go wrong with them. I thought it was really cool. And then yeah, after that, the Drag Unity structure deck, which of course was excellent. And yeah, I think structure decks are getting overall better, and this one just continues the trend in my opinion. So going down the list, first in the ultra rare slot, we have a new card called Master Hyperion, which probably is going to be the boss monster of a lot of new fairy decks, simply because he's like the Dark Armed of fairies. Like he's not quite that good, but he's still very good and makes the deck very good transitively. He's a 7-star, 2700 attack, light fairy. You can special summon him by removing an agent fairy monster from your field or your graveyard from play. So very easy summoning conditions to start with. Also, his effect is once per turn, you can remove a light fairy monster in your graveyard from play to destroy one card your opponent controls, just like Dark Armed, except you can only do it once per turn. However, if the fairy field spell, which is also in this deck, Sanctuary in the Sky, is in play, while he's in play, you can use that effect twice per turn and not just once. That brings it to, I think, out of just the good range into the very good, possibly broken range. It's really good. Like I said, having that effect pretty much makes it the Dark Armed of fairies. So I think it's going to be really good. That's just me. Next, he's the ultra rare. Then the other two super rare cards are also worth discussing, I think. One is the Agent of Mystery Earth. It's a 2-star fairy tuner, which is good already because they didn't have a whole lot of tuners before. Also, he's like the Machine of Gear Frame of this deck because when he's normal summoned, you search out an agent monster from your deck other than another Earth, obviously. And yeah, I mean, he's got 1,000 attacks, so obviously he's not as powerful as Gear Frame, but being a tuner kind of makes up for it. Also, once again, if Sanctuary in the Sky is on the field, his effect becomes better because instead of an agent monster, you can search Master Hyperion, which is awesome. Really, I mean, that's just great. So yeah, Sanctuary in the Sky has the effect of making these guys a lot better than they seem at first. And to follow up that trend, we have number 3, the last super rare card in this deck, the Agent of Miracles Jupiter, another new agent card. He's got 1,800 attack and 4 stars, so it's pretty good body. He's got the kind of meh effect of once per turn you can remove a light fairy from your graveyard to boost a fairy monster you control, even Jupiter himself, by 800 until the end of the turn, which is okay. I mean, you could give him 2,600 attack points for a turn. That's not bad, but it's not a really game-breaking effect. However, if Sanctuary in the Sky is in play, once again, he has the additional effect of once per turn you can discard a light fairy monster from your hand to special summon or remove from play light fairy monster. once again brings it into the possibly broken range. Having both of those effects at the same time means you can potentially loop a card from your graveyard right into play and boost his attack by 800, which is awesome in my opinion. So those three cards, Hyperion, Earth, and Jupiter, are what make this deck worthwhile just by themselves. They're really awesome. You could potentially just make a deck around these guys, looping them and whatnot. But the rest of the deck kind of speaks for itself because it's awesome. I mean, you get all of the rest of the agent monsters: Saturn, Mercury, Venus, Mars. None of them are really worth mentioning except Venus, who allows you to spam Mystic Shine Balls, if anyone knows that card. It's just a level 2 normal monster. Pitiful attack and defense, really. The only real point to that card is it fills up your graveyard, 1, and 2, because Earth is a tuner now, you can potentially synchro spam with those two guys. Excuse me. So, yeah, I mean, Venus is worth looking at. I'm not sure if the version of the deck that I plan on building is going to use it or not, but it's something to consider. Like I said, you buy the deck, you get a full complement of Mystic Shine Balls to spam with Venus. Also, the deck gives you access to several of the extremely powerful fairy monsters that before this were confined to the promo and secret rare expensive versions, like Splendid Venus, Tethys, the Goddess of Light, Victoria, Hecatrice, a bunch of cards like that were very expensive, especially Tethys and Victoria, are now commons in the deck. So it gives any player access to them, really, and I think this is a really good thing for people who want to make a fairy deck. Also, some more common reprints that are of a more minor league caliber: Marshmallow, an okay card. Air Knight Parshath, interesting choice. Nova Summoner, again, interesting choice. I mean, it is a fairy searcher, so it's okay, I guess. Excuse me, Zeratis, the Herald of Heaven, who's basically your Gravekeeper's Commandant, in that you discard him from your hand, search the field card, being Sanctuary in the Sky. Also, Zeratis has 2100 attack by himself, and he's a 4-star, so that makes him pretty darn good, even just as a monster. Plus, you know, pitching monsters from your hand, getting the field spell that makes your monsters good is obviously a good thing in this deck. Because this deck is a lot like the Psychic deck, in that it can continuously loop remove from play monsters, which is a really good strategy. I think very underrated. Let's see, other cards. Noteworthy, Honest is going to be a common in this deck, so I know it's been easy to get, even though it's an ultra rare, but if anybody hasn't had access to Honest, you can with this deck, so it makes it that much better. Let me take a look at the list here. Hanewada, tuner, whatever. Consecrated Light, an okay card. Fairies get their first draw card in the form of Cards from the Sky, which is a normal spell card. You play it, you remove a Light Fairy monster in your hand from the game to draw 2 cards. You can't special summon or conduct your battle phase the turn you activate it. It's pretty much cards of Black Feathers, cards for Black Feathers for the fairies, except it benefits fairies a little more, because even though it has restrictions on it, removing from play monsters in your hand with this deck is good anyway, especially if it lets you draw cards. The Blackwing deck couldn't really take advantage of remove from play monsters. This deck can, so it's better in that respect. Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, a very, very good card that was before now expensive and hard to find. Very good card for fairies. It lets you pretty much, if you have no monsters, automatically special summon any fairy from your hand. No tributes required. It's really good for the more powerful cards. Some more good reprint cards. Smashing Ground is going to be reprinted in this deck, so you can get your 3 Smashing Grounds, buy 3 copies of this. Burial from a Different Dimension, also an expensive card that's now becoming a common in this deck. Solidarity, a fair card, I play it in some decks. Divine Punishment, which is one of the greatest counter cards ever created, in my opinion. You can only play it when you have Sanctuary in the Sky on the field, but it's a counter trap that basically lets you negate a spell trap or monster's effect and destroy it for no cost whatsoever, other than having Sanctuary in the Sky in play. Sanctuary in the Sky itself is a field spell that its effect is whenever one of your fairy monsters is destroyed in battle with one of your opponent's monsters, you get no damage from that battle. So it's a good field spell to start, and the fact that that counter card that relies on it is amazing. It just brings that card to a whole new level of playability, in my opinion, because it's awesome. Those 2 cards are awesome together. What can I say? Return from different dimension as a common in this deck. Torrential Tribute and Solemn Judgment are both going to be commons in this structure deck, so I know I could definitely use some more copies of those. I know other people can too. The only thing that really upsets me about this is that in the Japanese version of the deck, Archlord Christia was also a common, if you can believe that, in the structure deck. And when I first saw that on the list, that made me really, really excited, thinking I would get my own Christia, finally. But unfortunately, Konami, in their infinite wisdom, sarcasm right there, decided that they couldn't print Christia in this deck, so they gave us a common Athena instead, which is a good card for fairies, but nowhere near as good as Christia. And I'm personally really upset about that. I know a lot of people are going to be really upset about that, but it's official. They nerfed us again. I hate Konami. And yeah. So it's all about money, really. I mean, Christia is going for $30, $40 a pop right now. If they printed a common, the price would go down significantly, so they decided not to. It's all about money, and I hate it. I really, really hate Konami. Like, I'm sorry. I love this game, but ugh, come on, guys. Ugh, but yeah, that's pretty much the deck. And I mean, I'm still, even though no Christia, I'll get over it. It still sounds like really, really cool and fun to try and play around with. So I'm really looking forward to seeing it released, and hopefully they won't do any other nerfing. But I think the list is official now. So yeah, that's it for this segment, and I'll get back to you as soon as I have a deck constructed from that structure deck, which I do plan on doing. So yeah, peace out, YouTube.